Want to bring today's episode to the podcast talking all about the biggest time wasters we see when you have premature ovarian insufficiency or diminished ovarian reserve. So we're giving you a plan for 2025 to fast track this and stop wasting time. Excited for you to listen to today's episode. Let's go. Okay, so we're getting into it today. We're talking all about some of the time wasters. So when you have diminished ovarian reserve and premature ovarian insufficiency. So first big one is focusing on the AMH. That is, we don't want to be blind to that number, but we want to make sure that we don't just hang our hat on it and think there's nothing else that we can do. So the AMH is not a predictor of your ability to get pregnant naturally. It doesn't predict your egg quality because they can't measure that. It talks about your ovarian reserve, and the fertility clinics use it to then have you rushing off to IVF thinking that, there's nothing you can do. It's below 1 and, you're doomed and you'd better rush to egg freezing, PRP, IUI, medicated cycles, IVF. I've said many times before, so we're not anti-IVF or anti-IUI, but you don't have a medication deficiency. Like there's something else going on in your body. Knowing the AMH is helpful. There's studies talking about AMH and there's studies talking about low AMH and low vitamin D, which we see across the board. We want your vitamin D to be between 60 to 80, and we see a lot of people with it. In the conventional medicine, they want it anything above 30. Well, that's still extremely low. We see it with people even in the single digits and teens. So, we want to be aware of the AMH number, but we don't want to hang our hat on it and focus on that. And we've just got, diminished ovarian reserve, premature ovarian insufficiency, and low AMH and high FSH. And we think, okay, the next step is only for me in IVF. And I see people doing like 7, 8, 9, 20 IVFs just because your insurance covers it. Maybe you have the finances, the emotional and financial strain, let alone the emotional strain of this. And then we don't know the long-term side effects of you pumping your body with that many hormones, like cancers and things like that. Like, I don't know. It's just sort of crazy as to what's going out there. As far as recommendations, and we haven't dug deeper into your health. So focusing on the AMH number and thinking you're doomed is a time waster. You've missed all the other important biomarkers and the rest of your health, which is actually going to then help move the AMH, because we see AMH go up all the time, and we've helped people get pregnant when at 44 with an AMH of 0.02. So you get pregnant naturally. So it is to be able to look at your health, and that's what's going to help improve pregnancy success. So don't focus on the AMH and think there's nothing else you can do. Blood work. And so time wasters where people are just like, they looked at my blood work and maybe my thyroid was a little bit off, and, they want the TSH below 2, even your REI is going to tell you that. And then maybe they've given you some Synthroid or some level, thyroxine to help with your TSH, or maybe, you've seen the vitamin D is a little bit low, so you've taken some supplement like a vitamin D3, K2 for sure. Do that, or maybe your glucose is off and your A1C, or maybe all your blood work is perfect and they said it's all normal, but it's still not working. So it's really important to dig in deeper and get the correct blood work. A lot of times we are missing this. Send a message to hello@fabfertile.ca and ask for the ultimate guide. It has a whole list of the blood work that we're looking for, but essentially you want to have the complete metabolic panel. You want a CBC with a CBC. You want a complete thyroid panel, including your TSH, your free T4, your free T3, your reverse T3, total T4, total T3, your both antibodies, so the thyroid peroxidase and the thyroid globulin antibodies. You want your A1C, fasting insulin, your homocysteine, your high sensitivity C-reactive protein, so your CRP, your vitamin B12, your vitamin D, your vitamin A. You want a full lipid panel, so cholesterol, triglycerides, HDL cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, your iron panel, iron, TIBC, iron saturation, ferritin, your AMH, your FSH, your prolactin, your LH, your DHEAS, and a lot of times standard of care for DOI or POI. So DOR or POI is to go and take DHEA, and then you'll have some side effects, and then maybe no one even measured your DHEA and you don't need it. It's something else that your body needs. Maybe you need some additional hormones, but it's not DHEA. Your estradiol, your sex hormone binding globulin, your total testosterone, free testosterone, pregnenolone. So those are some of the blood work that we look for, as well as looking at your health history. And we have reference ranges which are optimal. A lot of times they scan down it, everything says it's normal. We want to make sure it's optimal. And so we've got to dig deeper, not just looking at one little marker on the blood work and then wondering why things aren't working. Like, this is a time waster, is you going and getting blood work done at the fertility clinic. They tell you everything looks fine. Let's go, do an IVF or an IUI or a medicated cycle, but they haven't. This is not what they're going to do. So their plan, like if you're at the fertility clinic, it's not to work on your health. It's to get you into an IVF or IUI. Again, we're not opposed to that, but we see people doing it prematurely, right? So you need to be able to work on your health first, and then you can make a determination. So it's not about you going to your REI and asking them, hey, when do you think I should do a IVF? They'll look at your cycle and see that maybe it's okay, and maybe they'll scan down your blood work and they're like, you can start next month. Well, that's crazy. We need to decide to start when it makes sense for us. As far as, have we done our due diligence on our health? Have we looked at all the biomarkers? Have we looked at testing? Maybe you've got a parasite, a food sensitivity, environmental toxins you've been exposed to, heavy metals, blood sugar imbalance, thyroid issues, your adrenals. Maybe you're just like stressed from all the stuff, all this pressure you're putting on yourself. So it's not about just running. And I don't think anyone's like, my first choice is IVF. I don't think anyone has ever said that. You end up getting there by going through, the OBGYN refers you to the REI. And then next thing you know, you're like, how did I even get here? And I'm doing all these IVFs, and then no one even dug deeper into your health. So we need to make a determination when or if IVF is right for us, by looking at your biomarkers and making an educated decision, and not just going in there and asking someone who only has part of the equation and hasn't looked at the rest of your health in a targeted manner. Which runs into the next question, the next number. So number one was, don't focus on the AMH. Number two, solely. Number two is doing a deep dive on your blood work. Like, you be your own detective. Don't take no for an answer, and understand your blood work and your body. Number three, I kind of got ahead of myself, which was, you've gone and asked the REI, hey, do diet and lifestyle changes matter? And then they'll say, well, they're okay to have, or maybe some of them are more forward thinking. They might have you doing a carnivore diet or a keto diet, and, maybe doing some acupuncture and taking some supplements. And so that's just like the tip of the iceberg. We don't recommend people doing a carnivore or keto. We want a personalized diet, doing an elimination diet for a short period of time, and then tweaking it with food sensitivity testing. Carnivore diet for a cycling woman, I just, some of the stuff, the recommendations out there just don't make sense. So I've done a whole blog on the carnivore diet, why we don't, that's not our go-to at all. But you've asked the REI, and they receive little more than 1 week of nutrition training in medical school. Many medical schools are funded by big pharma. They're incentivized. The doctors are incentivized to do surgeries and to give medication. Their wheelhouse for diet and lifestyle. You can see what happened the pandemic, where people are like, oh, let's stay inside. Well, sunshine is what helps our immunity. And vitamin D, people's levels were so low because they're hiding inside watching TV all day long. Anyways, just some crazy recommendations here, but we just asked the wrong person, right? We've asked the REI. They're not trained in it. It's not their fault. You don't have a medication deficiency. It's not about, let's add more drugs to you. No, let's look to see what's going on in your health. And maybe you do need some help with medication. But typically it's more with hormones or thyroid medication is what we see. And the next one we have is taking synthetic hormones. Maybe you're taking hormone replacement therapy. Maybe you're dealing with mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats. You've got insomnia. And so they're and maybe you don't have a period, so they're putting you on hormone replacement therapy. You do not want to take the synthetic hormone replacement therapy. I've done many podcast episodes of that. You want to make sure if you're doing it, you're doing a bioidentical hormones, which you get from a compounding pharmacy. If your doctor's like, no, don't do that, just get a different doctor. Like if they don't know about bioidenticals and why that's better than putting a synthetic cream or synthetic compound on, in your body, that's a whole other discussion. So making sure that you're doing bioidentical hormones, or you can consider some progesterone, some creams there. So we use that actually. That can be helpful. There's literally there's an interesting thing of signs of low progesterone, and I'm not kidding you. I got a list of 100 different there's 100 and like, what is that? 120 different symptoms you could have if you have low progesterone. I'll just name a few of them. Here's a good one: frequent complaining, endless crying, defective luteal phase, fibroids, excessive facial hair on women, absence of maternal instinct. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I never really thought of myself as overly maternal. Never even changed a diaper before I had my children. Night sweats, preeclampsia, pregnancy loss. I think we know for pregnancy loss in conventional medicine, progesterone can be used for that. Breast tenderness, erratic menstrual cycle, lack of menstrual periods, depression, exhaustion, hair loss. I'm just picking a few, like blood clots, mood issues, definitely mood, irritability, tired, loss of libido, insomnia, cracked heels. There's one, endo, osteoporosis, dry skin, psoriasis, varicose veins. Anyways, there's a whole list here of so we do see people that have low progesterone, and sometimes we can do a cream we like Ona's Naturals that we can use to help people. A lot of it is to help with mood, right? As we're starting to make these diet and lifestyle changes, if your mood is all over the place, if you've got insomnia, if you've got night sweats and hot flashes, like you're just not feeling your best self. And sometimes we need to have that. And also that's going to help with your fertility as we in conjunction do those diet and lifestyle changes along with it. So time wasters is going on an HRT to deal with this, because you could have other side effects from doing the HRT. So synthetic progestins are associated with mood disturbances, ovulation suppression, and adverse metabolic effects. So low progesterone is a common cause of fertility issues and miscarriage. Nausea during pregnancy can be linked to low progesterone. Postpartum depression may result from a drop in progesterone levels. And the progesterone will help your uterine health, improves conception success, and prevents miscarriage. So, like we said, we like Ona's Naturals. And there is a disclaimer here. You want to avoid it if you've had a history of breast cancer, liver disease, stroke, heart attack, or blood clots. You definitely want to have this discussion with your team on this, with your practitioner. But stay away from, like, if you're currently on hormone replacement therapy, you need to work with your physician to then taper off and then go and move to a bioidentical, because this could impact your mood, right? So it's not about stopping full, going cold turkey on it, but having a conversation with your physician about this piece. And then in conjunction, we're doing the diet and lifestyle changes. So this is something that our team can help with. Generalized recommendations. So we see a lot of people, like maybe you're doing the carnivore, the keto, the paleo diet, the autoimmune protocol diet, the egg quality diet, all these different diets. Like, it's important to figure out a diet that's right for you. So we like the elimination diet, takes out the top allergens, systematically reintroduces them. And then this whole, self-diagnosing, where we're like, I'm going to do fertility superfoods. I'm going to have fertility herbs. Someone was asking me about red light therapy. I'm going to do like all these different things, which they can all be fine, right? But it just wastes time because we're just doing generalized recommendations, right? When maybe there's way more low hanging fruit that you have with your health that we can work on. Maybe the glaring things that no one's caught is that you have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, and gluten is causing inflammation in your body, and that's the issue. Maybe the fact your thyroid's being off, that's why you're having pregnancy loss, or maybe that's why you're having a regular cycle. Maybe you have a glucose issue, and your glucose is on a roller coaster all day long, and that's why you're having ovulation issues or menstrual cycle issues. So it is to to dig deeper on this piece, and just depending on how fast you want to have this work, right? So generalized recommendations, self-prescribing, self-diagnosing, becoming, Dr. Google. Obviously you want to be informed, right? And, doctors get a little upset if we're, looking at Dr. Google. Don't confuse their degree with Dr. Google, but, that, it's important for us to be our own advocate but to understand our health and look at our blood work, look at testing. We do food sensitivity testing using blood, stool testing, look at the DNA of the stool, genetic testing to be able to improve pregnancy outcomes, especially if you had pregnancy loss. If maybe in the last pregnancies and you're dealing with secondary fertility, maybe you had preeclampsia or gestational diabetes, like we have got to work on our health, and instead of just pumping our body with hormones and medication and forcing it, right? So that only gets us so far. So we had I was thinking of one here. She had 1 tube, 1 ovary, had low AMH, endometriosis. We helped a lot of people with endometriosis get pregnant naturally, or with IVF, high FSH. And she was pregnant within 7 months. And she followed our program, our Fab Fertile method, did the testing, looked at blood work, and worked on mindset too. Like this journey can take over your whole entire life. And there's a biological piece as women that we just keep going, and it's biology, right? And sometimes the man's like, okay, well, whatever, I'll support her, whatever she wants. And he wants to expand his family as well. But he might just be exhausted by the whole thing, or that's why this journey it can mess with your relationship with your partner. The intimacy is just all about baby making, and you've lost that connection. You feel it's very timed or rushed. And so all of that the mindset piece is equally as important. Well, that's like saying you've got heavy metals or you've got a nutrient deficiency. If the stress of overworking at your job, miscommunication with your partner and not really connecting with them, issues with family members, all this sort of stuff, right? All that, the stress component is equally as important. So we need to dig deeper into that as well. So like we said, the adrenals, which can then they impact the thyroid, which then impacts the AMH and the FSH. That's our whole thesis on this. And we see so many people like these type A, get it done kind of people. And maybe even if you can cope well, mentally, emotionally, maybe your body is like, I don't think so. So the generalized recommendations will only take you so far. Obviously, I got almost like 7 years of podcasts here where I've given you a lot of recommendations, but we need to be able to use some testing to be able to see, what's right for us. And then having said that, we love the tests. The next one, number 6, is not that it is about the test. So, and then I'll talk about that in a minute. Just so testing. So as far as the testing piece goes, maybe you're just so excited about all the tests, and we're like, okay, great. Let's see what if we've got it. Someone's like, I'm going to do a stool test. Well, that's nice. Doing a stool test is good, but that is only part of the equation. Maybe we need a vaginal microbiome test. Maybe we need to look at if there's nutrient deficiencies. Maybe you have an MTHFR gene variant and your body's not methylating things. So if you're just looking at, I'm going to do the Dutch test and the stool test, and we don't look at anything else. Like it's just, and then we're going to get a protocol that's not the proper protocol, and we're just going to miss things. Our team specializes in diminished ovarian reserve and premature ovarian insufficiencies. Like these are tough diagnoses, and it's multifactorial, right? We've got to dig deeper. So the testing, like we bring in like those type A, they love They love the testing, they love the data, and then working on mindset, they're like, oof. Or they'll tell me, oh, I've already got a mindset. I've already done therapy, or I already got that piece, or like, I'm pretty good on the mindset. Someone that says that, we probably need to double down into the mindset, because even though they might be coping well, there's something that's being missed there. Like if someone's coming in very, like they're so excited to get the protocol, they're like rushing with trying to get all the supplements ordered, they're in a panic, like, and I can relate to this because that's typically how I am generally. Not as much anymore. I've managed to work on a lot, but I would be like, give me all the stuff. I don't want to start it right away. I want to start it yesterday. Order all the stuff. Like I want it. So if that's you, and we're so excited to get doing all these things, but we're not trusting the process. We haven't actually looked at the underlying fears that we're like, we need to talk about that stuff, right? The fears that what's going to do if it doesn't work. A lot of uncertainty. What do you do in times of uncertainty? Is your default to micromanage something? Is your default to catastrophize, think the whole world's falling apart and it'll never work? Is your default in uncertainty to, you want to control the whole thing? Like you will be the person controlling everything. Do you pull away from your friends, your spouse? Like, what is it you do during when we're in the middle of this struggle? Because there is a beginning, middle, and end. If you're stuck in the messy middle, right? And we're not trusting the process. We don't actually, deep down, we don't believe it'll work, because that REI told us that donor eggs were our only option. And we start to, that little mind worm there, we start to believe it. But they don't have the whole picture. And so that's why it's important, like we include like a spiritual component to this as well, like either your faith or spirituality. We do an energy session. So being able to do an energy session. So the practitioner comes in remotely, and she's going to do energetically, and she's going to be doing pulling tarot cards and talking about spirit baby, and being able to have you really go into your intuition, where you notice the signs around you, that you just know everything is going to be okay. So if there's divine timing, there is no rushing, like everything is happening in its place, right? Same with the faith, for if you're religious and things like that, being able to lean in on your faith, so you just know like the timing piece, and we don't go into that panic and worry, because a lot of the times with IVF, our hope can just be beaten up and dashed by that, especially if you've gone through multiple IVFs, got excited, and then the roller coaster, and then even trying on the fertility journey, going through that each month, it's excited, and it hasn't worked, and keep testing and nothing's worked, and we do the times intercourse and all that piece, and we just feel exhausted by the whole entire side of things. Maybe the retrievals aren't working, the transfer, they're not even making it to be able to embryos. The embryos are being abnormally tested. Like all this stuff. This is, even though you're like, you're listening to this podcast here right now, and you're probably trying to gather some information, and you're feeling hopeful. Like we still, like we can't. Even going through all that piece, like that's a lot to go through, and to be able to recognize that, like maybe taking the time to cry, maybe taking the time to, like our mindset coaches really help you visualize a positive path forward, like know in your heart of hearts that everything's going to be okay no matter what happens, right? We don't have a crystal ball here to predict the future here, but if when we work on our health, there's no negative side effects for us working on mindset, working through trauma. Like no one's like, let's work through our trauma. No one really wants to do that, but there's no pushing it down. It's going to pop up in inopportune places. And then it could be impacting your fertility, right? So that the stress that you're under and the pressure you're putting yourself on. So we love all the testing, the functional lab testing. That's why I have it in the Fab Fertile method. I have a OBGYN with a functional medicine background. I have nutrition practitioners, but I have the mindset coaches in there, because it's equally as important for us to work on this this mindset piece may even be more important. I don't like to say one's over the other or anything, because it's all, we need to do all the stuff, not all at once. But again, just doing a little stool test is not going to be the answer to shift the needle of years of health that wasn't really addressed. And the next we have is, so maybe you found a local practitioner from like an acupuncturist, a chiro, a naturopath, a functional medicine doctor, and maybe you decided to work with them. So, sometimes it can be, as part of our team, we have someone on the ground to maybe do some medication if that's needed, or bioidenticals if needed. So it is about having a team. But I guess if you're just working with that person, they're going to run the testing. Maybe they're doing the GI map and the Dutch and things like that, but they don't specialize in fertility, or especially they don't specialize in diminished ovarian reserve and premature ovarian insufficiency, right? So they don't see the themes. They're working with someone who's got a gastro issue. Maybe that person over there's got cystic acne. That person over there's got, digestive issues. Maybe that person's got, autoimmune issues. So they're just seeing a whole bunch of conditions come into their practice, and they're not specialized with someone that's dealing with fertility, which has its own different themes and different things for us to look at, right? Looking at a vaginal microbiome test, maybe they're going to miss that. Maybe they're not going to be looking to see them maybe with the bioidenticals or progesterone that could be helpful. Or the thing we see a lot is with the thyroid piece, that that can be missed. And then also the mindset side of things. So if someone's not working with what you're dealing with, from diminished ovarian reserve, recurrent pregnancy loss, we work with a lot of people with that, endometriosis, premature ovarian insufficiency. If they're not working with those on a daily basis, they could be missing the clues, and then that just wastes time. You've just spent a whack of money on testing, did a protocol, no one helped you implement it, and no one helped you on the mindset side of things. And then maybe looking through it, they just don't specialize it, and then they're just going to miss themes. So that's another time waster, just doing someone that's not specializing in fertility. Number 8 is forgetting. So we're just so excited about the testing that we've forgotten about the foundational pillars here, which are, people are like, so when we work with people, we have them do a food diary, then we do elimination diet, we do food sensitivity testing, and then we're looking at stool testing and genetic testing. Different than the karyotyping testing you're going to do at the fertility clinic, which really impacts only about 10% of the population. This is looking at your gene variants, whether it's a specific diet and lifestyle and supplement changes. Then we're looking at blood chemistry and semen, including DNA fragmentation for him too, and all the different blood chemistry markers I mentioned earlier. So we're very excited to get all those tests back. That's when our medical case reviewer will do a review, and then it'll come through our nutrition practitioner, and then you'll get that as a client. And then the mindset person is working along with you as well, helping you implement these changes and helping you work on your stress, set boundaries, and being able to really help you putting this all together, right? Because we can get a plan, but if we can't have, someone's not going to help you implement it, it's meaningless. And so that's all the testing piece, but the foundation, people are excited to get the results. We are too, but the foundational pillars of the program and really of your health are, we want to work on the diet piece. So we've got to do more home cooking. We got to get rid of the seed oils. We want to choose organic as much as possible. Like, we can't do your shopping for you, but like so we're going to guide you along the way. But like, the diet is key. And maybe we found out that you're intolerant to gluten, and gluten's still slipping in, or maybe dairy, or maybe you have problems with eggs, whatever it is. But we don't quite believe it. So we're not going deep. It's not about going wider on this stuff, right? It is going deeper into like tweaking the diet, making sure you're getting enough veggies in your diet. Maybe you're not absorbing it, so having some supplements, maybe if that's needed, to help to absorb and addressing if you do have low stomach acid. So the nutrition side of it is huge. Sleep. Sleep is the cornerstone of good health and fertility. You want 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Maybe you're not, maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night, blood sugar issues or gut issues. Maybe you're having a hard time falling asleep. Maybe you're exhausted, when you wake up in the morning. So the sleep piece, we're going to help, work on that side of things, but maybe you haven't prioritized it. You're too busy watching Netflix, YouTube, whatever it is, and reading cliffhangers, watching cliffhangers, and then you're up till 12, 1, whatever it is, and then we're in that cycle. Then we need coffee in the morning to get us going, and then that impacts your adrenals, and then maybe your mood goes off, and then your project. So like it all comes together. So the sleep piece is key, is a foundational pillar. And then working on your movement, not too much. We don't want to be like training for the marathon, doing all this CrossFit, doing, high intensity interval training where it's just like way too much. You can't even talk to the person beside you. You're so out of breath doing burpees and, all this boot camp stuff. Like that's not what you want when you're trying to get pregnant. We want more, it's not about sitting and doing nothing, but walking or some strength training, some weights, some like bar or yoga, not hot yoga. Don't be doing hot yoga. That's like, could be too hard on your adrenals. The doing like a restorative yoga or yin yoga, hatha, like slower. That's the point, slower. And, being able to, to work on that piece. So the movement, you need to figure out the movement that's right for you. And if you're like, I can't quit my CrossFit and things like that, that's something to explore, right? We can't force you to do these things. We want you to have an open mind and be able to examine things, and how can you look at things a little bit differently and still have exercise. And if that's how you cope, with stress, there's other ways to look at that. So we want the diet that's right for you. We want the sleep. So being able to prioritize your sleep, a cool, dark room, not with your laptop, and keeping your phone not charging beside your head with all the EMFs coming in. I've done many podcast episodes about that. EMFs, first of all, don't ever have the phone like that. Basically have it on speaker when you're talking to someone, and your partner not having it in his pants, and the laptop not in your lap, either of you, like making sure you have a laptop protector. Like there's boards and stuff like that you can have if you're working on your lap. And so, yeah, the sleep piece, and using that for intimacy, not working. And then also the stress side of things, because we can take all the supplements, we can work on the diet, but if we haven't worked on all the stress piece of this, if we're in a toxic work environment, if we're working more than 50 hours a week, we got a toxic boss, toxic work environment, we're exhausted. It's not about quitting your job, but like, do you need to attend every meeting? Is there some, are there some, we don't like the word, boundaries, all this stuff, but maybe you need to set some boundaries around your, your work life. So it doesn't bleed into the evening when you're answering calls 11 at night, sometimes we just get into a habit of doing these things, and it doesn't serve us. And so where can we, in our current job, just tighten things up a little bit? So prepare, when the baby comes, you won't be the one working late and staying late. You've got to look after your child. You'll need to, pick them up at daycare. So it's like, do this now, prepare now. Mother, father, parent yourself now, and being able to set up that life. So when the baby comes, it's an easy, transition, and not, oh my goodness, I'm working 80 hours a week. I don't know where this baby's going to fit in. Or maybe for you, it's not the work. It's it could be, maybe some of your friend circles, they're just not serving you anymore. It's just to be able to examine, like, if you're hanging out with people, they just drain you. We need to minimize the time. Maybe if that person is your mom or your best friend, we need to minimize the time. We don't cut them out, but we need to minimize the time and recognize how it impacts you. You don't need to say yes to every last thing. So it is to kind of have look around and sort of see what it is you're doing here. And as I say this, I'm thinking about my own life too, right? It's not some perfect thing over here. So it's being able to see where you can pull back, where, like for me, I can tell when I'm out of alignment, when I'm like, I feel like I'm racing everywhere. I'm like super impatient. I've got like a road rage. Everyone's slow. I'm like, why is everyone so moving so slow, walking so slow, driving so slow? Because I am out of balance. I need to go and really, calm myself down because I'm just in like hyper, like this kind of side of things. So see, like if that's you, where you, I don't, this Zoom thing keeps giving me thumbs up. So they're telling that's what we got to do. Yeah. So the time waster here is we're forgetting the foundational pillars, going deeper in on the diet. If you've said, oh, I've gone gluten-free and thinks it didn't work, we need to go a little deeper on that because the theme we see is non-celiac, and maybe you don't have any initial symptoms when you take out gluten, but it's causing internal inflammation. And so like digging into the sleep, really fine tuning it, optimizing, getting a better night's sleep, get a sleep mask, things like that. Do it, an Epsom salt bath before bed, put some magnesium lotion on your feet. All this stuff can really help to get a better restful sleep. If you're snoring, like go do a sleep study. I did that. That was fun. Wires all over the place. Turns out I'm fine. I didn't even need a night guard because I'm grinding a little bit, but, because I was snoring, but I think some of that was like some hormone issues. So I'm taking bioidenticals and that seems to be helping the snoring. And then the stress piece, right? Being like the elephant in the room, being able to address it, get someone to support you on that stuff, to call you out on your own crap. And then number 9 is time waster, doing PRP. So plasma rich platelets. So, doing that before, you've worked on your health, maybe you're just injecting, putting inflamed cells back into your ovaries. So it's still, PRP is still considered experimental, but early stats are showing it can improve egg quality and quantity, and can lead to higher AMH. But it's not about us rushing out to a PRP. The costs are vary across the country. 2 to 4K is kind of average, but like we see people, I had someone tell me it was like 8K somewhere they did. And so we're not opposed to this, but if you wake up the ovaries, you want your health to be in the best possible shape. So taking some time to work on your health, at least 6 months to work on that, will then set you up. If you do need to do the PRP, it can have better success, and then either getting pregnant naturally or going off to, doing an IVF. And so this, you got to bear in mind with, diminished ovarian reserve and premature ovarian insufficiency and the low AMH, the clinics are like, ooh, what can we give these people? Oh, wait, let's give them PRP. And we can make some money over there. So we've just got to bear in mind to bring in these different modalities when it works for us, not on someone else's schedule and their fertility. Obviously, I'm running a business here, so our services are not for free, but the fertility clinic is equally running a business, and it's a multi-billion-dollar, sometimes trillion-dollar business of, and so they're not, it's not biased. It's not unbiased opinions when you ask for their opinion, right? They know certain things. And, if they don't know anything about functional medicine, nutrition, because they haven't received the training, like it's not an impartial, opinion is the point. And so we need to be educated and decide when it's right for us to move to the next stage. In this case, PRP, as we see it doing prematurely, and people have spent a lot of money. Like if you do two sets, that's still, even if it was $4,000 in the toilet, and you could have, done some testing and made some changes, for that. So, and poor egg quality. So we see a lot of people like time wasters we're just focusing on, okay, egg quality, and we're going to be doing egg quality diets and, taking all these things that we can do to all these supplements that can improve our egg quality. Well, when we work on our health in a targeted manner, that improves our egg quality. That I've got people coming to us that, just thinking of one, she had all her egg retrievals. She had terrible egg quality. Nothing worked. It didn't even make it to, didn't make it to transfer. All the embryos were abnormally tested. And then, she had also had autoimmunity. She had Hashimoto's and endometriosis and, low AMH Anyway, she made all the changes, found out she had food sensitivities and gut infections and heavy metals and nutrient deficiencies, blood sugar issues, and thyroid, obviously with the hashies. And then she went back, she made the changes, went back and she did the egg retrieval. She had beautiful egg quality. And then she went on to do a transfer, and then she had her son. So like we see a lot of people that's like canceled cycles, poor responder, the embryo is not working, the transfer's failing, pregnancy loss early on. Like this is not, like I said before, not an insignificant thing to go through. And so we want to be able to optimize everything and prevent that as much as possible, prevent all this poor egg quality and abnormally tested embryos and canceled retrievals and all of that piece to work on your health. That's how you improve it, not doing another one, the same protocol or increasing medication and things like that. The last time waster is sort of what we've already talked on, is going to IVF too early. We haven't worked on our health in a systematic way, and we've gone there and it hasn't worked. So if you've already this year, 2024, you've had an IVF, maybe multiple IVFs, and they haven't worked for you, like now is the time to take your health into your own hands, understand your biomarkers, looking at your blood work, looking at testing, looking at, the adrenals, like from a black and white, we can look at your adrenals and say, okay, they're struggling. What are things we can do to nourish that? And then also making some shifts in, around your life. So we can welcome your baby in 2025, because going to IVF too early, even though, you could have the clinic calling you right now saying, let's get you in before the holidays, use up your insurance, things like that. We want to make sure it's the right time for us. And so when I say to someone's like, oh, I'm going to do an IVF next month, is that written in stone? No, it's not written in stone, because you're in charge of when it's time to do it. So let's have all the biomarkers and all the data in place. And then also that faith, that peace where you just know everything's going to be okay because you've worked on that side of things. You're feeling calm and not in this panic. Oh my goodness, my fertility, I'm 40 and my fertility just fell off a cliff. I had better rush. That's not the place where you want to be in. That doesn't serve anyone. And yes, stress does someone's like, does stress impact? Of course it does. Like you can't be there with your shoulders to your ears in a panic thinking, oh my goodness, it's never going to work. And then when it doesn't work, wonder why. Like I see it all the time. I experienced it personally. Like we had embryos left over from our transfer, and it didn't work because I was so keyed up and I had to get a separate donor. So then my health took a nosedive years later, and I discovered all this piece, and really, there's things I can do to improve my health. It's empowering. So as I say, we've helped people with AMH as low as 0.02. She's 44. She had gut and adrenal issues, elevated H. pylori. We see this a lot with gut so it's a bacteria linked to gut inflammation. It can really then lower your stomach acid. You're not maybe absorbing any of your nutrients. She had elevated insulin. She had thyroid issues. So she had low free T4. She had elevated CRP, so inflammation in her body. She had the MTHFR gene variant, so she's not methylating properly. Food sensitivities. She had a lot of stress because she'd been through multiple miscarriages before coming to see us. And then, so we worked on that piece and being able to help her visualize it. She was she leaned a lot in on her face. So that really gave her comfort. So we helped her on that piece. And then, so she ended up getting pregnant naturally. So this is after being told donor eggs, AMH of 0.02, NG/mL. So quite low. So if you are ready in 2025 to improve your chances of pregnancy success, you want to take control of your own health and understand it so you can make an informed decision. You're ready to use testing. So we're doing food, stool, genetic testing. We also do hair, vaginal microbiome, blood chemistry reviews, looking at the semen, doing DNA fragmentation, having coaching to really help you implement these changes, to fast track it so we can help you get out of your own way so you can actually make these changes. And at the end of our program, you'll either be, happily pregnant, or if you do need IVF, you're going to improve the chances of it working. So like we said, we specialize in tough cases like low AMH and high FSH, premature ovarian insufficiency, diminished ovarian reserve. So if you want to go ahead, and you can book a call, just go to fabfertile.com and fabfertile.com and just do apply here and book a call, and we will chat with you and your partner and talk about some options. So we don't need to waste time doing any of these things. It's time to take action. You are in control of your own health, and it's empowering to know there's steps we can do. We don't need to wait. So hopefully this was helpful. Take care.